Today we are going to learn how to paint the hazard stripes on my Knight Tyrant without using an airbrush.
That the entirety of the cosmos is accessible through each and every individual's mind, connecting to the great mind, the great spirit.
Welcome back to the channel, collectors. So this is one of the really short and sweet videos that I'm producing, and today we'll be focusing on just one topic, which is how to paint hazard stripes without the use of an airbrush. So hazard stripes add a lot of visual interest to a miniature, and today I'm trying to see whether this overbrush technique can allow me to paint those sweet, crisp hazard stripes without the use of an airbrush. So if you're ready, let us begin. Alright. So if you want to paint some hazard stripes, these are some of the colors that you will need. And also get some painter's tape and let's get painting. Okay, so we're going to start off first. The model has already been primed brown with quite long camo brown. Currently what I'm doing here is a stipple of Chimera magenta. So this is just pure Chimera magenta. I'm using a really old brush here so that I can create some texture. You can also use an overbrush method here too. Most importantly, we're just doing a base coat with a faded edge so that the edges show a little bit of the brown underneath. Alright, so in the next stage, I'll be adding in a little bit of Kolectiv model color, German camo beige. So German camo beige added in, we are creating a color transition. So many of you might be quite stunned now because why am I using magenta as a base? So let me explain. Magenta, when glazed over with yellow, will create an orangey result. So this is the result that we are looking for. And we are going to apply yellow as a glaze rather than as a base coat or as a layer. Alright, so with that now done, we're going to move on, and gradually we're going to add in more and more Kolectiv model color German camo beige. So this will start to create a more neutral looking surface. Remember, when you are doing this stipple over brush, what you want to achieve is you want to have the feathered edge link up with the previous feathered edge, so you can have a very smooth transition gradually towards the solid color. Do notice that the shape of the highlight is very important. Currently right now I'm highlighting this shin pad in the shape of a cylinder and a sphere at the kneecap. So this will educate the viewer of what shape and what form is this armor panel. Alright, so you want to do this gently so that you can have feathered edge. And gradually I'm just adding more and more Kolectiv model color German camo beige into the mix. Just cleaning up here. So now I'm adding in a little bit of Kolectiv model color ivory into the mix. So this is going to be creating a sort of a highlight. However, because we're going to glaze this down, the value will be a lot lower than what it is right now. Remember, everything is added into the mix, and when you add things into the mix, the color progression can be a lot smoother. For me, I wasn't too fussed about the surface being too rough because I was fine having this rough surface to showcase the very battle damage and worn out look of this Knight Tyrant. So now just applying on the final highlights using Kolectiv model color ivory. Alright. So now with a yellow glaze, we are going over with Games Workshop Contrast Yenden Yellow. I find that this provides a very nice finish, and I'm going to start smoothing out some transitions between the shadows as well as under the kneecap. Do note that this has been thinned down with Lame Medium in a ratio of about 1:1. Okay, so right here we have painter's tape, and I'm going to start marking down. For me, I used the width of half a cm. However, I found that half a cm width was a little bit too thick in retrospect, so I would recommend you to do something a bit thinner. Maybe what I would recommend is 3mm widths for the black stripes. That would be really nice. Okay, so it's about 75% of the thickness that what I have, so that you can fit in maybe one more stripe. For me, at 0.5 cm, what I've achieved is that I managed to fit in about 4 stripes into the shin pad. So what I recommend is, sometimes smaller stripes will make this look a lot more detailed. Okay, so now after marking the stripes with the marker, I'm scouring it with a pen knife. So with a pen knife, just score the painter's tape so that you can have equally thick tapes, so the width is equal, and this will really lend the effect of being very machine-like. Don't do this by hand. There's no way you can get perfectly straight lines and perfectly equal lines. Or you can, but it will take so much more time. So this, in my opinion, is a lot faster. So I'm just cutting the tips into half because I don't need such a long length of tape, and I can use this for other parts of the body such as the shoulder pads. So now peeling off the tape from the base, and I'm just going to start arranging them onto the model. So one tip that I can give you is try to have the tape stick on your hand first before applying it on the model. This makes the tape a lot less adhesive, and it reduces the risk of you lifting any of your previous paint coats. I personally have not experienced paint being lifted up from plastic miniatures, but I can imagine that there will be some degree of risk if you were using say for example an airbrush primer and your model was metal, so just don't do that. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm applying a little bit of the tape to sort of measure the width. So this will allow me to ensure that the tapes were equidistant. However, after this experiment and many unfortunate results, I realized that it will be a lot easier to just eyeball the process, because the tapes weren't ending up in a parallel fashion, because the spacer tapes kinda screwed up the perception. I think it would have been a lot faster and easier for you to just eyeball it and try to keep the stripes equidistant from one another. Okay, so we're just gonna apply the rest of the tape in this similar fashion. Always make sure that the tape is fully adhered to the model so that you don't leave any gaps, and leaving gaps would sometimes lead to like lines not appearing straight and paint leaking underneath, and that's not what you want. You want this to look as perfect as possible. Okay, 4 stripes. So you want to check for any deformities on the tape. Areas with some degree of deformity, try to not have them on the main areas. And I see that I've managed to squeeze in just a little bit more there. Okay, so now with the tape fully adhered, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a overbrush of Chimera black here. I want to do this in a nice stippling motion. And one top tip that I'll give everybody right here: be patient, wait for the paint to dry before stripping the tape off. So here you see me doing the same thing again. Another top tip is, at this stage, make sure that the direction that the brush is contacting the model is vertical and there's no horizontal left and right motion, because this will result in smudging. Okay, so now the paint is roughly dry. You can start peeling off the painter's tape, and this is what you'll be left with. Wonderful, no airbrush hazard stripes. Wow, it usually takes a longer time. And right here I'm just using a sponge with Chimera warm yellow to do some chipping on the black stripes. So what this informs the viewer is that the black stripes have been painted onto the yellow surface and some of it has been chipped off. Try to focus more on the chipping towards the edges of the black and to the middle area where chipping might have happened more, because this knight is walking forward. The sides probably won't be hit by debris as much. Alright, so that was the finished product, and here you can see the result, and I hope you found this useful. So that was the overbrush way of how I painted the hazard stripes on my Chaos Knight Tyrant. How do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you found this useful, do share it with your friends, because it really allows the channel to grow and more people get to learn from these awesome tutorials and become better miniature painters together. At this point of time, I'd like to thank my patrons for allowing me to do this, because it's through their generous support I'm able to paint and record and create this amazing tutorial so that we all get to learn. For as low as $1 a month, you get to see my finished work before anybody else in this world. And you get to support the channel too. So I hope you guys head on to the Patreon, links in the description, and support the channel so that I can keep producing this content for everybody to learn. However, if you can't become a patron, that's okay too. I'd like to thank you for your time, for watching all the way to the end. If you want to support the channel, do like and subscribe and all the other stuff, because this tells YouTube that more people get to learn about these tutorials. Alright, so I hope to see you in the next video. See you!